How do you guys see the issues with it, and where do you guys think it needs to go?
Ooh, okay. So, I'm going to give a rather broad answer here, and then kind of hone in on some of the specifics.
Mm.
I believe the Rhodes violation was written in lieu of having something akin to Brady. Brady in and of itself is very complicated. Rhodes does not have that level of complication. That's like a good thing, right? It's a little bit more straightforward. However, it's so straightforward that it's extremely broad. And sort of creates a scenario where in San Andreas, because everything is so damn intertwined, it allows the defense two things. In other words, it's not gated. There's no like clear lines of when something must be delivered versus when it shouldn't. That broadness might be good for, say, if I was a judge, I think it'd be really interesting. If I was a lawyer, I think it'd be very interesting from a philosophical, let's talk about law and like what's good and good. But when it comes to practicality for law enforcement, it gets really cooked. And I'll explain like this. Someone does something, right? An incident. And that incident is more than a bank truck. We individually as law enforcement may not be fully aware of, like, if let's say me and Ruth are working a case, we go and present charges similar to, you know, the case we just had. We may not be fully aware of what other people did surrounding Forehead and Manx and some of the somewhat or maybe not related.
Okay.
Are they fire starters? Are they, you know, acquired these bombs maybe at a certain point? I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? The reports may exist. We may not be aware as, let's say, the people going to court. And so as such, the defense could be like, oh, wait, you know something about this thing, we think. So we want you to produce anything around this space that you may or may not have. Myself and Ruth, who are, let's say, the prosecutors once again and the lead investigators, have no idea about this. Now we got to go search for it, right? And to be able to put up that like red card and on the 12th hour is too high of a standard. There's a second problem that sort of produces itself because this is San Andreas and people do hyper crime, and because, like, just as an example, you could be like a faceless asset, but then also a bank robber, and then also getting guns from another asset, and then getting bombs from another, and then go do terrorism and da-da-da. Like, one could argue that all of that information must be provided just because you got arrested for some slice of those incidents. That's rather cooked because we may either still be building a case, and if we go down that approach, we would just have continuances till the end of time, right? That's not, conducive. I think Rhodes would be nice if it's for the charges and the thing that is happening here. Law enforcement must provide everything that they're utilizing to have their case. However, if they have knowledge, right? And this is the tough part, right? Because if we're going to be honest here, now that I'm saying this out loud, the problem is that PD is allowed to be corrupt, and some people should not even be given that opportunity. And I wish there was federal mandates around it, but there isn't. And therefore, you're going to have people like Maxwell who are just going to do crazy shit to help her friends, or insert any other cop, and they're kind of fucked everyone, if we're going to be real. So with that in mind, ideally, cops should, in good faith, produce everything that could be seen as exculpable, right? Or at least make the courts aware of the potential exculpability. But as I'm saying this, I'm trying to figure out myself how you do that, right? So
Yeah. So to go to your first point about like things being so intertwined, it's in the same way that we don't have recall because if you go hard enough, everyone's connected to everyone. In the same way that if if it was like everything and anything a cop ever looked at in regards to someone, you would end up going too broad and nothing would work. Is it the same sort of idea? Like eventually
yeah,
the scope just becomes too broad.
it becomes too broad where law enforcement, the prosecutors themselves, may not even be aware. I mean, so much shit happens so hyper quickly that realistically, the only people that really know what they're putting forward is the people putting the case forward. Like, I think like V Gray, I'm using an example, right? Only in its example, is like V Gray put up that Babylonian case. He's probably the best equipped to know of something's existence. And probably will be the only one until the case. And there is that possibility that someone goes, oh, wait, I made this report on this thing, right?
Yeah, I had a glance at the evidence just to make sure all the links were working, and I feel like, I don't know, knowing how Pred did the Bazin case, I'm surprised there's no interrogations up there yet. But hey, that's what it.
Wait, they might be in the reports.
Yeah, they might be, but like none, like, because I remember looking at the Bazin case and he had like separate reports for each interrogation, but maybe he didn't do it for this one. But yeah, I just clicked the links to make sure something came out of it rather than just
Yeah,
a dead link.
I do think like that there should be, like, if there is belief, for example, that this is how I would rather see it work. I and Ruth, for example, in this hypothetical case, may not be aware that there's something out there that the defense needs and may believe might exist. And I'm not necessarily against them putting in a request for information, right? And then we would be able to give me a sec. I'm thinking out loud here for a second. Would be able to be like, it doesn't exist, or like not applicable or something.
I mean, it should be like, PD can't purposefully like hide things, but also like they can't just know something exists and not ask for it to be produced.
Yeah. So let's give you an example, right? JJ, like, there's a request by, they've been talking about this publicly, so I'm going to try to not do it in a way that conflicts you, but it's just out there. Is like, we got requests for a warrant that doesn't exist and has not been activated by someone who's speculating it might exist, right? Which is a little crazy to begin with. How quick
Sounds
that
like
happened,
fishing, in my opinion. But
I'm sorry.
sounds like someone's fishing just to see if anything will come up.
Yeah, nor do I think it makes any sense for us to produce something that has not yet been, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's there's a lot of gaming that's happening by both the PD and by suspects and civilians, and in turn their defense attorneys. To me, that's the real issue, if we're going to be real, is that it's sort of gaming a system rather than it being about, things going to trial. And so when we talk about Rhodes, I would like for Rhodes to be a little bit more specific on what should and must be given, and that things outside of that scope should require a written ask or like a hearing. And if on good faith we want to claim its non-existence or the lack of existence, and then that existence were to come to be, right, then the onus is now on the PD. I know that makes it a little bit more complicated, but I don't know. I'm spitballing here, right? It should be rather obvious what should be given. Like let's use even just this example of the forehead thing. My understanding is they said, well, you requested this other suspect's phone subpoenas. Why is it not in the court case? But why? Right? In a real trial in New York, that might be valid per Brady, but I don't even know if it would be due to privacy laws and whatever.
Yeah, I think so. With the forehead one, where it was forehead's thing was provided, but Manx's wasn't.
What was it?
Like,
The output? Was it the CSV file?
Yeah, it was the output.
But that output, so that's one thing that I think should be covered, is that its PD needs to put forward things that might be exculpable that people would not otherwise have access to. Like, I would very greatly claim that the attorney, let me just cut it short. What probably and likely happened is, what's his name? Who was their original attorney?
Barrett?
No. Before that. Murphy doesn't do shit until day of the trial. Barrett came in last second and was like, I want this info. But because they all did it last second, they're demanding and claiming it's a, Rhodes violation when they had the ability to know that it existed and have their client, right? I feel like that's something an attorney should be doing anyways. Tell me everything. What did they do? Blah, blah, blah. And that if they find that there's something isn't there, they request it, right? I am glad that there is like discovery or like there's like a pre-trial hearings now so that bullshit can be done like in the courtroom prior to trial and then make it move forward. But the problem is that it to some level is being now weaponized for like a gotcha to do something that, like, had I not stepped in that court case, they would have, their rightful manner would have been continuance, right?
In the ruling I said, like, something like phone records could easily, like, their likelihood to be exculpatory or inculpatory is high, because it could give someone an alibi of being somewhere else, or it could put someone directly on scene. So I can understand wanting that, but I do also understand the perspective of, well, you can just go ask a judge to give you your phone records.
Exactly that, right? It's the burden goes, if the burden gets too high, how do I put this? There's like principled facts, and then there's like, what can we reasonably do to go to trial, right? And due to limitations of the MDT, due to limitations on how subpoenas are tracked, like, let's be real, this shit's archaic, right? It's better than it used to be, but it's still archaic. To be able to even get the records or know of its existence, like let's not get too sweaty, Yeah,
I think, like, when I was looking at it, like, in the precedent established, says investigators are required to disclose, and then there's like the legal definition of disclose versus the what people would the colloquial definition, because like legally disclosure does mean providing it, but then normally disclosing is just like, yeah, we have this. I think, like, as a baseline, if it's something that you guys like anything that comes from a subpoena or a search warrant should be put forward, because before you guys get those results, you guys are essentially saying, you're rolling the dice to say there could be evidence in here, and that therefore is true for your side. Does that make sense?
Kind of. So, because there's two different things, right? If we subpoena forehead, that you're saying that we should have to give the output even?
Well, like, it would be best practice to, in my opinion.
I wouldn't be necessarily against. I think it adds a level of cumbersomeness when defense attorneys can easily do the same thing, right? I think the defense should bear some of the burden of what they are doing. I I can understand wanting to, and I'm going to be this. I understand what I'm saying is being a little, high-roaded, but they have they can literally just, hey, boys, what happened? Oh, you got these subpoenas? All right, we're going to go. I'm going to, on behalf of you, request all those subpoenas.
I mean, they get notified that they had it pulled. They get notified of all that information. Like, they have the text themselves. So I feel like they sort of, by default, already have.
They have the text, but they also have the ability to request of anyone in the DOJ, quite frankly, to have their records pulled and analyze it themselves. Now, the argument that was made, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was, oh, but, we're requesting it right now. I didn't know it existed. I only just found out about it. Well, you decided to wait until pre-trial to bring it up, right?
Waiting till, the gavel's been hit and then being like, well, hold on, either you're not doing your job properly or you're acting in bad faith.
Exactly, right?
Which is why, I really lowered the amount they were asking for, because at the end of the day, whether agree with it or not, Grayson did rule that there was a Rhodes violation, so I had to work off that.
Yeah. Understandable.
And it's also like, with how Rhodes is currently defined, it does seem like it meets it. Whether it should or shouldn't is a whole nother question.
Yeah.
I do need to go to that legislative audit that just got a court announcement for.
Oh shit! What is it for? The hell is it?
Callahan clause. It's if you're charging murder, like if you're charging first-degree murder, we have the option as the judge to either go for second or manslaughter if we think that's been proven and not the other stuff.
Huh? Wait, and there's someone wants to get rid of that?
Yeah,
brother.
I mean, I see that. I see cops always going for the highest one, not the one they have, like...
No, but that's how it works, like, everywhere else, for reasons. Because we don't have, what's it called?
Felony murder?
We don't have felony murder, and we also don't have something else. It's called, there's certain determinations that are only made in court, because there can be, like, 5 degrees of a crime. And, yeah, you're saying it's the worst because that's ultimately a judgment call, right?
I can see between first and second, but I can see the argument for manslaughter. Like, if this person is only guilty of manslaughter, you're pushing first-degree murder. Like, one is a hag versus 150 months.
Yeah, but legally speaking, we're talking about, like, premeditation versus accidents. And that's not something you can determine as a cop.
Like, I was the one that wrote the case law. It came from a case where...
You can't determine that.
Pretty convinced that the guy being charged did it, like killed this woman, but the cops never proved premeditation, so I just had to be like, not guilty, and that didn't feel like justice. So that's why I wrote the case law.
Yeah.
Because, like, when someone dies, that's important.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, I kind of want to watch this. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the courthouse and get.
All right. Easy.
Done with, because I don't know. Alejandro Ramirez's legal takes are
cooked.
Something. Cooked. Yeah.
That's why I get excited every time he takes one of my, one of our suspects' cases. So.
All right.
All right. Oh my god. I am praying that in future we see senators again. You want to drive and chat? Ruth?
Sorry, just couldn't stop coughing there. I don't know if you heard that.
You're not wrong about people, like, going above and beyond, but, like...
Like, I'm just thinking maliciousness type of thing.
Yeah, that to me is that you should sue separately and do an ACR.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very against, like, just in general, like, least common is the same argument with the enemy of the state. People are fucking doing dumb shit. Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, it's like SBS, least common denominator, dog shit, should not set the tone because it actually makes it worse for the serious shit.
I mean, the thing is, ACRs aren't going to happen because nobody's going to pay $250,000.
We can, yeah, but we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, but we wouldn't do it over like a cop overcharging.